What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do a small deck analysis on the deck that I took to the winter warm-up. Ended high 40s, low 40s. I went 3, 2, and 2. Not the record that I wanted. I really wanted to go 4 something. But overall, playing as Asui, this deck was incredibly fun. And so I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the deck, the choices that I made as you get rocking, and some of the things that I liked and I didn't like and all that jazz. But before we get into it, I want to talk about the tier list that we have here. The overperformed, obviously. Card was incredible. I wanted to see more of it. I wanted to see it every game. The good cards are like bread and butter cards. I liked them. They need to exist in the game. The fine cards are probably where we start to like, these are the cards that you could easily make some changes and choices. The bad cards are the cards that I'm going to be taking out. The tame as bad cards of I think this card has more potential than I would have played it. And then the didn't see cards. I just didn't see the card enough to really justify the card. So first off, let's start with Asui. This character is so awesome. This character is so good. Drawing cards, clearing your cards out of your card pool, just like doing just like really I don't want to say unfair things, but really unfair things. Every time that an attack, mine or yours, is blocked, I get to draw a card. It's or ready or up, and then commit her to draw a card. It's just so good. There's so much value with this character. I'm excited to explore this character more and more. Up next, Vast Chimera Kraken, overperformed. 2 high block that selectively commits my opponent's cool cards. Incredible. My one issue is it wants to be the leadoff attack, and I keep discarding with Asui, so I can keep playing out strings. So it probably deserves to be in the good category, because it's very rare that I get to actually toss this thing into momentum, even if it does hit, right? Which is a bit of an issue, I think. There might be something to be said about like a water version of this deck that's playing something like Amphibious Ambush, to like play this thing, play Amphibious Ambush, clear this into my momentum, play my next move, clear the Amphibious Ambush, and then go on from there. There might be an idea there, but unsure. Tasty Riff. The reason we play the deck, honestly, like this is the number 1 card that I wanted to play. It was probably good to maybe overperform. It's probably in the exact same tier as this. My issue with Tasty Riff is when it connected, it was incredible. It was so good. But my opponent, as soon as they saw the first Tasty Riff, they blocked it. And so like it was always it feels incredible, but my character only gives it 4 damage. I don't get a ton of bonus resources whenever it does get blocked. Like, it gets to draw the bonus card, right? Like, it's draw a card because of Asui, and then if it gets blocked, so I draw another one. So it's like, it's draw 2 without the cycle, but it's like a little tougher to pull off, or draw 3, then cycle, then discard back down. Yeah. Agile Drop. Agile Drop is probably bad. The idea of Agile Drop was to go Tasty Riff, Agile Drop, pick up Tasty Riff, discard a card with Asui, clear the Tasty Riff, play the Tasty Riff I just picked up, and then that one will connect. So like the first one gets blocked, and then the second one, because I picked it up with Agile Drop, it connects. You do that same idea with like Tongue Whip or Falling Skies is a really good tactic with that. But it just shouldn't have existed in the deck. It just doesn't do enough damage by itself, and it has to be used in tandem with another card. It just wasn't good enough. It should have been replaced with a second Surging Crystal Darts, and this card was good. It's a 5 high for 6 minimum, 5 high for 6 on turn 2, and it's 5 high for more. It's also a deadlock threat. I actually wish that I was just playing 4 of this card. 5 diff that just slams them is very strong. It's a beautiful opener, and it's a good deadlock threat. I should have just played more of this one. Up next, Tongue Whip. Card overperformed. Yeah, it slammed a bunch of damage, right? Tongue Whip, clear the Tongue Whip with the Asui, then another Tongue Whip again, getting even more +1s off of Asui herself. Might be the best attack under all 3 of these symbols since the beginning. Falling Skies, another one of those overperformers. There were so many turns where I would go like I would go Kraken into whatever high attack, into Falling Skies, having not cleared, and then +3/+3 clear with Asui, play Falling Skies, make it a throw +3/+3, and like that's how I won the game. Felt super good just giving +2/+2, or even as a poke, right? You just like play Falling Skies, you make it a throw, you give it a damage with Asui, you give it a damage with itself, so it's 5, 6, 7 damage. There's a 4 damage throw guaranteed that drew you a card off of Asui. If they block, you get to re-ready Asui, so then you build out your hand and have Asui ready so you can commit and draw another card on their turn. It essentially makes you an 8 hand size for defense, right? Because you drew one on your turn, and then you draw a minimum a bonus on their turn whenever they play their first attack. It felt super powerful just tossing it as a poke. Very happy I played it at the 4 of. I don't think I could take it down to a 3 of. If I did, it would be to put in one of these, and this card's just better than this card. It's just facts. And then my last one, I Storm, Overperformer, insane deadlock threat, my main momentum use, followed by the breaker, right? I will breaker block and then commit and then pop off. And then my last one is Tongue Smack. This card was fine. It did its job of it drew me a bunch of cards, but it is only 7 damage, and I think I would have just preferred it to be this. I want to take the 2 of these out and the 1 of this out and just make it 3 copies of Surging Crystal Darts. I think it'll just be better. I'm going to scroll down here real fast. So my stats are 21 highs, 23 mids, 22 lows, and so this would like take and make it 21, 21, 24 if I did this, because the Surging Crystal Darts and the Ice Drop, Agile Drop have the same block zone, but I would just be losing 2 mid blocks here on the Tongue Smacks. But it was never relevant because of the amount of cards that I draw off of Asui herself. But yeah, this card was the definition of fine. But the fact that it had like slight Agile Drop scenarios where like playing this by itself felt abysmally bad. I really wanted to go something into this, clear the thing with Asui, redraw a bonus card. Like that felt powerful, but it didn't actually feel like it was like putting real pressure on my opponent. Sports Festival Stadium. It was good. I do not regret playing this card, even though like I'm sure you could go back and find like a game that I killed myself due to it. This card canceling Faith Shield versus my Falling Skies, incredible. This card canceling Breaker, incredible. This card canceling Showdown, if I had it, incredible. This card's super, super good. And it also, the biggest issue, and we'll talk about it at the very end, is this deck had an issue with damage. I just couldn't output enough damage, and so +1 damage on all of my moves was relevant. As we get into the foundations, for some reason, the website duplicated some of these. So I'm not going to obviously talk about the duplicates, but we will talk about the foundations. First one is just going to be Quick Response, Overperform, Destroy a Foundation for +2 speed. It's kind of the reason that the deck works with like Tasty Rift stuff. Like this is the best foundation in my deck, and it's not close. Just being able to destroy for the +2 speed so that my Tasty Rifts are unblockable, so that I get to redraw and filter my cards, and yada 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 yada. So good. Same thing here with the Struggling Studies. After I block so many times, I get to rebuy back cards in my card pool. It says that I get to rebuy back my Ice Storms. It says that I get to rebuy back my Taste Rifts that I blocked with, and I don't have to block a bonus one, or I'll find another card that I can block with Asui. Just felt super, super good. I'm going to go in order that's on my sheet as opposed to in order that's on here. So the next card that I have is Lost in Thought. This card was good. This card is very good. There were some times where, like, on turn 2 in particular, where I had to deal with, I didn't have the correct block zone. And so I would pick up a card, i.e., like the best card that I could pick up was Problem Solving. So then if I needed to, I could discard it for +1 on my check and then continue. Like there's some cool tactics you could do there. But the main thing was like this was just like you have a piece on your board that I don't like, right? Fighting against like fighting against something that had like a sick deadlock ability on it. I would just be like, hey, that one, it's back in your hand. There was a time where I had to bounce like Heroic Endurance, right? Because my second attack was going to be a Tasty Rift, and you could -4 damage it, and the 4 damage is the most I can get off of it. So I have to bounce your Heroic Endurance so my Tasty Rift gets to touch you. Felt very good. But yeah, Cheerleader, very good. It's very good. Not quite the overperformer that I wanted it to be. It was a 1 in the main board, 1 in the sideboard. It came in all the time. Attacks with enhances are very scary, right? Like canceling the enhance on Tasty Rift, canceling the enhance on Falling Skies, canceling the enhance on Vile Seizing or whatever. It's like it is relevant, and it does matter. I probably should have been playing some more copies of this card, just as more momentum outs, because there was one game where I was stuck with 3 momentum with no way to get the momentum outs. Basic training. This card is fine. 0/5, good deadlock threat. The fact that I can build it in with Tasty Riff, I'm only playing 3 of it, and so it was fine when I had it. I normally used it on the very first move, so that I forced the block, so I got a bonus draw, so that my Tasty Riff could possibly come in as the second one. But it does mean that I was leaving some damage on the table, which I get that that's probably not the best idea, but it is certainly how I use the card. Ice Gliding, overperformed. The idea of my character just wants to block over and over and over again is just really important, and so the more that I can block, the better if it is. And this is -3 speed, 2 to this one, 1 to the next one. Face Shield. Face Shield is fine. I'm happy. Face Shield's one of those cards that will fade in and out of consciousness as the game develops and moves. And I thought there was going to be slightly more throws. I thought there were going to be more zone mix-ups. Like this card was super good versus the Moneta that I fought, right? My opponent was playing cool Moneta things, and I was like, no, that's Face Shield. You didn't touch me. You don't get your momentum, so on and so forth. Up next, Surviving the Final. This card was the best 0 diff in my deck. This one was the good 0 diff. This is the one that I always wanted to build in with a Tasty Riff if possible. I did not want to build in the +1 damage, but at the same time, this was to keep me alive so I can survive games as opposed to attempt to win games, which, 3, 2, and 2. I lost 2 games. I tied 2 games. It's not great. Up next, we had Gotcha. This card was fine. It's a 1 of. It rounded out a low block. It was accidentally really good in tactically with Rescue completed. Yeah, good. It's fine. It's a fine card. Tape, overperformed. This card was incredible. This card was absolutely gnarly. It felt very good to play this card at pretty much every instance of the game. It was a tough whenever I had a hand of like Ice Gliding Tape of which one was I going to guarantee build. I wasn't positive what that was supposed to be all the time. Up next is Frozen. Frozen might be the MVP. It's the only reason I got to beat the Anasa deck. This card is good. It's good as a 1 of, and the fact that you can build it in with a Tasty Riff was so good. Anasa went down to 1 foundation being ready, and then I committed it with Frozen, and every time that they re-readied a card, I just would commit it back down. So they never got to really minus the speed on the stuff. I was just constantly just ripping down their stage. It was very good. It was very, very good. Up next was the last edition of the deck, Think Fast. Think Fast was fine. 1 mid block was pretty good. My opponents really never went to deadlock so that I could quick response, change the zone, give it +1 with Think Fast, and I never really got a chance to feel comfortable enough committing a foundation to change my zone to then give it the 1/1 with this. But this is more damage inside the deck, and it's a thing that I was missing, so maybe I'm supposed to play it like a 2 of or something. I'm not 100% positive. Up next, Irrefutable Force of Nature. I went out of order. Irrefutable was fine. It's probably just because it was the 1 of, but the idea was with it being the 1 of is I could grab it with Tasty Riff if I landed one, but it was actually pretty difficult to land a Tasty Riff. So that thought process was a little incorrect, But otherwise, card's great. Card's very good. Feeling Cute. This card was bad. It got used as a 2 high block probably more often than it should have, and then Destroy a Foundation for +1 speed is not the same rate as Quick Response. And it's probably just better to play the quick responses. Probably could have been something else, but I know whenever me and big shout outs to Andrew were developing this, the first idea of the deck, the high block foundations were really rough. It was not great to what's the high block foundation that I want. And so we tried to find it with Problem Solving, which was a fine to good card. I think this card is probably in the good category. The discard for the plus to my check was probably the best part about it, and the anti-stun was very good. So whenever they stun my cards, I get to re-ready it back up, was relevant. Next we have team player. Here's where I get to be like really honest about team player. This card was fine. I really enjoyed the re-ready. It probably should be in the Tam is bad category because it probably should have been prone to dry eyes instead. So as opposed to giving +1/+1, it was +1 to everything. So that if I played 4 attacks, it didn't represent 2 stats, it represented 4 stats. As soon as you play 2 attacks with the one team player and you discard 1 card, it represents 2 stats, 1 speed, 1 damage. If you play the one prone to dry eyes, and that's the only one you're allowed to play, it's 4 stats across 4 attacks. It should have just been prone to dry eyes, but I thought the re-ready was so important. If I were to snap my fingers and make any change, this would just be prone, which saddens me because I think the re-ready on this card is very, very good. Up next, first villain encounter. This card was honestly didn't see. I didn't see this card when my opponents went into deadlock except for one time when it was relevant. This was like my main deadlock pressure whenever I had counters with Tasty Rift. Like my opponent went to deadlock and I would just like slam this in and then flip and then stuff your card pool and we're off to the races with our tongue whips. It's probably the card that I saw the least when it comes to my foundation lineup of like cards I want to be on the board. It was either that one or this one. But at least this one, like I got to win a game off of this card. I didn't lose a game because of this card, which I would have preferred to have won. And then my last one, so rescue completed. This is actually the best foundation of my deck. It's quick response and rescue completed as just the 2 best, because it says that either you get to always block because you have infinite cards in your hand with Asui, with this card combined with Ice Gliding, right? It's the name of that card. Yeah, Ice Gliding says you get to block any move that you want to, even when they were getting like +5 speed. You commit a foundation, you commit Ice Gliding, you -1 speed with surviving the final, you commit surviving the final is -6. You block, you re-ready your character. Or if you already have the cards in hand, you just enhance, use rescue completed, commit Asui. It's -2 speed, you block, you ready up Asui. So like you just get to just like minus speed for free. It's big Kamui Woods 1 energy. But with that said, yeah, I don't know why they reprinted, they duplicated these, but this is the whole deck. This is probably where I'm at. The cards that I regret are probably just these 3, this one in particular, because I valued this card too high. But these 2 could probably find different homes. But this card I just didn't see it enough. It was again as a one-of. And I never really even sideboarded in the bonus one. With that said, you guys, my takeaways of the deck is a little tough to pilot. Right, difficulty-wise, I give it like a 3 or 4 stars. It was tough to play, mainly because like you had to cobble together your offense, right? Because like the damage output of this deck is incredibly low as it was played, right? This is the main move we want to swing with, and it's a 3, maybe 4 damage move. This is a 4, 5, maybe 6 damage move. As soon as my opponent like is down to not block my attacks, it became way harder to actually like cobble together attack strings because my moves didn't hit. And if they did block, well then if they blocked, they didn't do any damage because they blocked. Which is why things like Falling Skies being a throw is so important. But with that, now that I'm done with the deck analysis, I'm very happy I played this deck. I'm so happy I gave it a real shot. I almost last second swapped to a different one, but I'm happy I got to play Asui 3 out over the event. Gave me a bit of a perspective on guiding myself and how I want to play the game competitively. With that said, you guys, thank you much for watching. As always, I wish you well.